Okay, let's pray that the New York Jets finally get some good players. No, I can't pray for that. Let's pray that Gonzaga and the Tar Heels both make the championship for college basketball and they both win somehow. No, I can't pray for that. Let's pray that the Flames crush the Oilers every single time they play them for the rest of their existence. I can't pray for that either. So let's pray for peace in our heart, happiness on our dimples, and if we don't have dimples, get some dimples. And just thank God for all the food and clothes and school and house we have. Amen. Okay, so to continue on page 7 with substitution. And yes, I am the laser tag champion, winning the championship. I am a career record 2-3 against a 6-year-old and a 9-year-old. That's right. I've won 2 and only lost 3. So, want to play me in laser tag? I would rethink that thought, because you'll lose almost half of the time. Let's do page 7 BZ. So we're going to do substitution. I'm going to write it on a separate piece of paper. Not paper, but you know what I mean. And let's just remind ourselves what we're looking for in substitution. We're looking for an x or a negative x, or a y, or a negative y. Okay, this is the things that we're not looking for. We're not looking for a 2y. We're not looking for a negative 4x. We're not looking for a 6y. Okay, anything with numbers in front of the terms, we are including a numerical coefficient on the term, so a number part on the term. That is not substitution. That's going to be an elimination question. We're looking for an x, or a negative x we bring to the other side to make it an x, a y, or a negative y we can bring to the other side to make it a y. So the first step is to solve for x or y. Once we do that, okay, so let's say we did that and that was our answer. Then we substitute this into the other equation for the y. Then you distribute, collect like terms, solve, and you get x equals, I don't know what it is, 1. Feels like you're done? You're not. Then you sub that, x equals 1, into either equation, and in this case, you get y equals 3. And then your x comes first, your y comes second, you get 1, 3, which is not the solution, because we put 1, 3 in here, that does not equal left-hand side equals right-hand side. Okay, so let's do B, and let's not mess around with that. Okay, so go ahead and write down 1B on page 7 in your math notebook. If you haven't done that yet, pause it and go get a math notebook or piece of paper. Copy this question down, and we have a couple choices on to solve for x or y here. You can solve for that x or that x, get x by itself, and then substitute into the other equation. Doesn't matter. I'm going to go with the first one. They're both positive, so it doesn't matter at all which one you do. You'll get the exact same answer as long as you do it properly. So I'm going to solve for x here by adding 2y, getting rid of that whole term, adding 2y. We get x equals 2y plus 10. First step, done. Feels good. Now wherever I see an x in the other equation, I have to substitute. Okay, so there's my x. That's what I put in for x. So you could, if you want to, put brackets. There's no purpose of this bracket just except for to show that it's a binomial, because there's no number in front of it. But most times it's going to have a number in front of it and you're going to have to distribute. So brackets is a good way to go. In this case you don't have to, but now we miss our one step. We don't collect like terms anymore. Sorry, we don't distribute anymore because there's a 1 here, so we don't need to multiply it by 1. Anything times 1 is 1. But we do need to collect like terms. 2y plus 5y is 7y. 10 plus 4 is touchdown New York Jets. My team is quite idiotic. They lost their first 13 games and decided to beat 2 good teams in a row. Ay, ay, ay. Anyways, let's not talk about them. And then you subtract 14. We're going to solve. It's 7y equals negative 14 divided by 7. And again, it feels like we're done, but this is just the y part. Y equals negative 2. So that is step 1. This is step 2. And sorry, I'm running out of room, so I'm going to put step 3 over here. I don't like that. If it was a normal test, I'd keep working down. But step 3 is to sub y equals negative 2 into either equation. I'm going to put in either, I guess, but I'm not going to put that every single time. Okay, so whatever equation looks the easiest, I'm going for 2 because it's got all positives. Okay, next, where I see y, I put negative 2. So 5 times y equals 5 times negative 2. And then I can add those numbers together. So negative 10, I guess I'll show that to you, plus 4 equals negative 6. And then you add 6 to both sides, and you get x equals 6. So add 6 to both sides, x equals 6. Therefore, 6 negative 2 is the solution. Six negative 2, so let's just check it. 6 subtract negative 2 is 6 plus 2. Sorry, 6 subtract 2 times negative 2 is 6 plus 4, which equals 10. Yup. And we got 6 subtract 10 plus 4 equals 0. Yup. Check, 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 check. Weehaw. Drink a Coke. We're number 1. We're number 1. We're number 1. Hey. Okay, so that's how you do it. Time for you to do letter C. Okay, so do 1C on that same page. So the next question, 1C on page 7. Go ahead, solve for Q or P. There's only one option there. Substitute it into the other equation. Distribute, collect like terms, and solve. Then sub that answer into either equation to get an answer which you check, and then that will work out in both equations, and you will find the solution, which is also called the root in grade 11. Okay, so pause now, get that done, and when you unpause, we'll correct it together. Have fun. Okay, let's see how you did. And 4P, 7P, 4Q, don't care about any of those. Anything with numerical coefficients or number parts on the term, that's not what we're going to use for substitution. We're going to solve for x or y, or in this case p or q. So this is the q that we're getting by itself, so we subtract 4 pizzas. Pizza, Papa John pizza. You get q equals negative 4 Papa John pizzas. That means we ate 4 Papa John pizzas. Where we see q in the other equation, we substitute negative 4p. Okay, so now, second step, if this helps you, just write down 1, 2. Second step is 7p plus 4 times something. I'm going to substitute negative 4p. Oh, this is odd. Equals 3. And we are going to get a fraction. Okay, so 7p negative 4 times 4. You multiply them, is negative 16p equals 3. And now you collect like terms. So negative 9, keep the p, divide by negative 9, and there is our fractional. Okay, so this is negative 3/9, which we're going to reduce to negative 1/3. Okay, hopefully you see how that is. Divide both top and the bottom by 3. That's 1. Third step is to sub a fraction. That's okay. Might have to know how to multiply and add fractions. So we sub p equals negative 1/3 in for q. Or for either. To find q. Looks like the first one's going to be your easiest. So 4p plus q equals 0. Wherever I see a p, I'm going to put negative 1/3. And hopefully you know that 4 times negative 1/3 is negative 4/3. If you multiply the top times top and bottom times bottom. So this is not, don't get too scared here. This one actually is quite easy to work with, these fractions. So negative 4/3 plus q. And to get q by itself, you do the opposite of negative 4/3, which is add 4/3. So you add 4/3 to both sides. Sorry for the slanty. Oh, maybe I shouldn't do that. Just need a little bit of space. And now we get q equals 4/3. Now we have to know which one goes first. Well, just like x is first alphabetically, which one is first alphabetically, p or q? So p first, then q. So negative 1/3, 4/3. Is that the answer? Ooh. Let's see. When we check it on the number 1 here. Okay, so let me focus your attention on this equation. So we get 4 times negative 1/3, which is negative 4/3 plus 4/3 equals 0. That's true. That's a good start. We're happy, happy, happy. And here we get 7 times negative 1/3, which is negative 7/3 plus 4 times 4/3, which is 12/3 equals 3. Sorry, 16/3. So here we get negative 7/3 plus 16/3. And what's negative plus 16? Negative 7 plus 16, 9/3. Does 9/3 or 9 divided by 3 equal 3? Don't fret if you get a fraction. Double check to see if you did something wrong. But when you do that and you can't find anything wrong, you stick with your answer. Okay, so you can have the answer 1/2, 1/4, in this case negative 1/3. Don't freak out. You can all do this. Remember, multiply fractions is top times top, bottom times bottom. I reduce first. You can always reduce after you multiply if it's easier for you. Okay, so that is a cool answer. And a hard answer, you might want to study start for your first fractional solution. Is the solution. You know what I mean. Ta-da! Ta-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Okay, in D, we got some brackets and distributing and collecting like terms and stuff like that. You do it. Pause it if you want to see this further, because I'm going to move down and extend. Okay, for D, You've got brackets and collect like terms. And I would rewrite the equation as the x part, then the y part, and then put the number on this side. So something x plus or subtract something y equals positive or negative 7, something like that. That's how I would do it. Much like if you look at number 1a and 1c, that's how they write it. It's just a bit easier when you have the x's lined up, the y's lined up, and the numbers lined up on the other side of the equation. So that's how I would do it. If you want to keep it in general form, that's fine, but I don't say that because D is not in general form, so you'd have to bring the 8 to the other side. So if 8's already there, why don't you bring your numbers on the bottom equation to the other side of the equal sign. So try your best to do 1D. Once you distribute and collect like terms, again, grade 9, grade 9, grade 9, then you can go about and solve for x or y, and then do the substitution method. Hey, that's the new dancing down. Pause, 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 pause. Okay, awesome kid. You. Let's do 1D. So this is what I mean by distributing and collecting like terms. So we get 2x. In fact, you don't collect like terms here. You just bring the number to the other side. Hopefully you collect like terms, yeah, on the other one. Okay, so now I've got my x and my y. I'm just going to get my numbers on the other side. So I subtract 4. I'm going to call this new equation number 1. 2x plus y equals 4. Yuck. Well, it's not. There we go. 2x plus y equals 4. Now, it could be, you could make a very easy mistake here and put negative 4. I've seen that. I've done that many times. So just don't rush through it. And always maybe take a quick 2 seconds to check your work. See actually if this is negative 2y plus 6. I'm going to add these together. Don't have to, but I like to do one step at a time. Now I'm going to subtract 30 from both sides. And so my second equation is now 7x subtract 2y. And when I say that, I'm actually checking my previous work to make sure I didn't make a sign mistake. Okay. So hopefully it's becoming much clearer to you on what to do as the first step now with these two purple equations at the bottom of the scrolls here. What are you going to solve for? Well, this is the only one that has a y or an x. Okay, so I want to solve for y here. Why is this giving me such trouble today? And you get y equals, okay, concentrate, 2x plus 4. That looks better. So now, wherever I see a y here, I'm going to substitute 2x plus 4 in brackets, distribute, and collect like terms and solve. Okay, so I don't like working with this. I like doing it separately. So that was step. Well, we had to do some extra steps here. So, but I'm going to call this step 1. Now step 2 is to substitute this in for y. Oops, I overshot it. You know what I mean. For that y. So I'm going to write down that equation again, because that's how I roll. And it's a lot easier for your teacher to correct it when you don't keep working down. So I have 7x subtract 2 times y, and y is now my black binomial here. So I put 2x plus 4. And the reason why we do this, the whole reason why we do substitution, is to get this equation that is in 2 variables, x and y, get it into 1 variable, just x's, and now I can solve for x. If you look at the First one here, 7x subtract 2y equals negative 30. I can't solve for x or y. I'm not going to get x equals 5. I want to get x equals, and then y is going to be in it, and that doesn't help me with the intersection point. So the whole point of substitution is to get all the x's and or all the y's in one equation so you're able to solve. Okay, once we do that, I'm going to distribute the negative 2, so 7x subtract 4y, sorry, look at what I did. No, that's an x. Subtract 4x, subtract 8 equals negative 30. That x is from this, of course. And then I collect like terms. 7x subtract 4x is 3x. And then you just kind of hope it works out nicely. And it doesn't. So now I'm going to check to see if I did something wrong. Because I can notice I'm kind of working ahead of myself. I'm going to get negative 22 divided by 3, which doesn't make any sense. So let me find my mistake and I'll come back to you in a second. I should have left that on. It did take me too long. I did go through this part. Where is my pen? There it is. I went through this part. Got it. Went through this part. Got it. Went through this part. And I'm getting nervous because I'm like, well, I got to tell you something went wrong. And this is it right here. I forgot to put the negative 2x right here. Okay, so can you just fix this up? I apologize. I'm going to use back. So this should be a negative 2x, which means this should be negative 2x, which means this should be positive. And now I'm happy because we got 11x and a 22-ish. Okay, so yeah, I might as well just erase this part. So this is not 7 subtract 4, it says 7 plus 4. So 11x subtract 8 equals negative 30. Now I add 8. I get negative 22. $11x equals negative 22. Makes me a happy pappy. Because now when I divide by 11, I get x equals negative 2. That happens sometimes, and it's not very fun when it doesn't work out. Again, before I had 3x equals negative 22, and most likely my answer is not going to be negative 22/3. However, if I couldn't find anything that was wrong, I'm not going to spend 20 minutes trying to redo this question. I'm going to check it once closely, and then if that's it, I'm going to leave this answer and hope it's right. Because, again, I've seen students erase the right answer and not put anything. They just wasted marks there. So I can give you partial marks at least. Don't erase a whole bunch of work and then don't put anything. That makes no sense. Okay, so I get x equals negative 2. And then my third step is to substitute that into either equation. And I'm going to let you not go to the blue equations, which are the original equations. That's usually what you have to do. But I'm going to let you just go with the 1 and 2 here. And hopefully you didn't make any mistakes. So you can see there is risk if you do that. You can go to the blue if you want to and substitute that in for x, negative 2. Which actually isn't bad because that just canceled and you get y equals 8. So never mind. I'm going to substitute into that blue because it's very easy when you substitute negative 2 for x. That bracket just becomes 0 and 2 times 0 is 0. Okay, so let me do that as my third step. If you want to substitute in the other equations, that's fine. Just don't make a mistake. Why is this eraser showing up? I'm not sure. So, still an eraser. 2 times x plus 2 plus y equals 8. And if I sub x equals negative 2 in there, I'm pretty happy because the negative 2 plus 2 is 0. So 2 times, and then I'm going to substitute this negative 2 plus 2, which is 0. And 2 times 0 is just 0, so that cancels. You're left with y equals 8. So negative 2, 8 is the solution, as I'm still writing with my eraser. And I'm just getting ready for an explosion here. And then you check it. So this, you're going to have to check with the original equations, negative 2, 8. Does negative 2, 8 work? Of course it does here, because we kind of just did it. Negative 2, 8 gives you 8 equals 8. What about this one? Negative 2, that's negative 14 and 8. So negative 14, 8 subtract 3 is 5. Negative 2 times 5 is negative 10. Negative 14 subtract 10 is negative 24. And negative 24 plus 24 does equal 0. Wow, I am so happy that that worked out in this harder question. I would give you one of these at the most. And if I did, you'd have to work your way through it. It really is only 2 extra steps. Distributing and collecting like terms. And that's grade 9, grade 9. So when you're look at a question like this, you see those brackets, those beautiful brackets, tell yourself those are grade 9 questions. And even though they're not, at least you won't panic. Okay, just relax, Frankie. Okay, your turn to do the one after D. It says do one step at a time. Solve the system. X equals y 11 subtract 3y, and 2x subtract 3y equals 4. Okay, so go ahead and do D, not D. This is the one that just says do, I guess. And then we're going to be a good guy and a bad guy for a group work. Just keep on practicing substitution, substitution, substitution. Okay, so I don't know. Let's call this starfish. Starfish, there we go. And even though it doesn't have a name, I do want to start you on this one, because sometimes I see students try to solve for x or y, which is usually the first step. But remember, we did one that the first step was done for us, and this one, the first step is done for us. X is already solved for. First step, don't do it. You now need to sub this into the other equation and then distribute, collect like terms, and solve. Okay, so go ahead. We're going to do one step at a time. In fact, I'm going to leave it running. So go ahead and do the first step, which is done for you. So do technically the second step, which I've given you a big hint on. We'll give you 92 minutes to do that. 2.5 minutes. You know what? I'm just going to get you to pause instead of waiting for 5 extra minutes. So pause when you're done the first step, unpause, and we'll do the first step. See how your first or second step, I guess, was, if it was done correct. Okay, so I'm about to do the second step. I'm going to do it in a separate color. So the second step, no, I better not. Second step, I'm going to keep green, and then substitute wherever I see x, I'm going to put 11 subtract 3y. And then stick with the green. Okay, so that should be your next step. That's probably the hardest step in substitution. It's subbing that binomial, usually binomial, into the other equation. Okay, now we'll go ahead and pause, and I'm going to get you to distribute. Never mind, I don't think I need to pause for that. Okay, go ahead and distribute. And I'll be quiet and telling you what to do. Do the next step, please, in the next line. Okay, I just pick a story for you today. Next up is to distribute. You get 22, subtract 6y plus 3y equals 4. I'm not going to tell you the next step. Go ahead and do the next step. Give you 1 minute. Next up is to collect like terms. So negative 6 plus 3 is negative 3. Keep the letter. That's how you collect like terms. And go ahead and do the next step. I'll give you 2 minutes to finish her off. Okay, 2 ways you can do this. You can subtract 22 on both sides and get negative 3y equals negative 18. Don't forget to divide by negative 3, please. If you do that, and there's a common mistake, your check isn't going to work out. You get y equals 6. The other thing you could do is you could make the y positive by adding 3y. And if you do that, you need to get rid of the 4 here. So you subtract 4. Those cancel. You get 18 equals 3y to get and divide by 3. You get y equals 6 there as well. Okay, so either way, y equals 6. And now I'm going to let you finish it off. You know what y equals. Now go ahead and find x in either equation. I think there's one that's a little easier than the other. But it doesn't matter. If you choose either equation, you'll get the same answer. So that's cool. And I'll mark it right. I'm not going to mark you if you chose the easiest one, just as long as you get the answer. 6 is y. What is your x? Big numbers. We haven't written this down, but let me write it down now. Check to see if your answers are right, or see if you maybe made a sign mistake here and put negative 6. If you left-hand side doesn't equal right-hand side, go to your first answer, and half the time it's just a negative. Your answer is 5, it should be negative 5. Your answer is 2, it should be negative 2. You can see how I missed my negative sign that last question we did. Okay, so what's the answer? Negative 7, 6. Does that work? Negative 7, 6. Does negative 7 equal 11 subtract 18? Yes, we kind of just did that. This is the one. It's going to be interesting. Negative 7, 6. Does negative 14 plus 18 equal 4? Sure does. Hey, we did it. We did it. Do, do, do. We did it. We did it. What's there? I'm sorry. I'm thinking of a children's. Oh, I think it's Dora. Something about we did it. We did it. I don't know. I'm the map. I'm the map. Okay. GBB, good guys. Okay, you're gonna choose Harry Potter or Star Wars or Avengers, and you're gonna be a good guy. And we're all, as good guys, gonna do that system, the middle one. Next. So take, I don't know, 4 minutes, whatever amount of time you need to do this question as a good guy. And then we're going to turn into a bad guy. So right now, number 1 is, okay, I guess I just watched Star Wars. So I'm going to be a good guy in Star Wars. So I'm going to be, you know what, it's not really given enough credit, but I just saw R2-D2 save the day. If you wouldn't have been moving those elevators and killing those robots on the top, those droids that were trying to get rid of it. So this is obviously R2-D2. And the question is 4x subtract 3y, don't be jealous, equals 6, and 2x subtract y equals 4. Okay, you go. And after you do that, you can unpause and we'll have the answer for you. Remember, the first step is to find x or y, or in this case, negative x or negative y, and get x or y by itself on the other side. Okay, pause, 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 pause. Okay, here are the good guys. R2-D2. What do I have to solve for? I need to solve for this y. 2 ways to do it. I just showed you last one. You can either bring the y over or you can divide by negative 1 after subtracting 2x. I'm going to bring the negative y to make it positive y. So I'm going to add y to both sides and then get rid of this number on this side. Okay, hopefully you understand that. If not, if you do it the other way, you'll get the same thing. You'll get 2x subtract 4 equals y. Okay, so I know the last few examples we've been using equation 1, and then substituting in equation 2. Well, that's not a rule. Your rule is just to solve for x or y, and sometimes you can't solve for x or y in equation 1. It just so happened last 3 of them you could, but that's not this question. So this is the first step here. Y is not red. That's the first step. The second step is to substitute this in for y in the other equation, which is right here. Okay, so second step, everything else in black stays the same, but where I see this y, I'm going to put 2x subtract 4 and then distribute. Check your sign. Make sure you put plus 12 and not negative 12, and collect like terms. Add or subtract first question. So opposite of add 12 is subtract 12. And then don't forget what to do here. You don't add 2. You don't divide by 2. You divide by negative 2, so the negatives and the 2's cancel. Negative divided by negative is a positive. Hey, no more eraser. Yay. Third step is to sub x equals 3. I'm not going to put in either anymore. Either equation, the first one's in black that we started with. I think the second one's a little easier just because it's smaller numbers, but it's pretty much the exact same thing. So I'm going to use that one. Wherever I see an x, I'm going to put 3. That's not a very good arrow. So 2 times x, it becomes 2 times 3. And then I have to solve for y, and I'll solve for y the other way this time. Instead of moving it to the other side, I'm going to subtract 6, get negative y by itself, and then I'll divide by negative 1, which is still a skill you need in case it starts with a negative y. So divide by negative 1, you get y equals 2. Ooh, I guess I can scroll up a little bit. So 3, 2 is the solution. I'm always running out of room. 3, 2, 3, 2. See, does it work? If I have a 3 here and a 2 here, I get 12. Subtract 6. Does that equal 6? Yep. If I have a 3 here and a 2 here, that doesn't look good. I think I must be mistaken with that black number. It looks like a 7, but I think it's actually a 4. There we go. So I get 6 subtract 2 equals 4, and it sure does. Righty. Okay. We're bad guys. Pause that if you haven't got that yet. Otherwise, I'm going to go to the bad guy question, sticking with Star Wars. And you obviously know this guy as the bad. Actually, your generation is probably the worst guy. This is Darth Vader. Oh, sorry, I just missed a little bit of a... There we go, now it's Darth Vader. Obviously, maybe a little more scary. We are doing Lego art, where we put... It's 16 by 16 square. We put the 1s and the 2s and the 3s. There's 12 different colors. And there's 256 on each. It's called Lego mosaic art. They're just, all you do, there's just little circle pieces, and you just keep putting them on. And then there's 9 different squares. So you gotta attach those, attach the middle 3, and attach the bottom 3. So what's 9 times 250? It is over 3,000 pieces anyway. And then you put them all together, and you get one big picture of this guy right here, Darth Vader. And it's pretty cool because you can redo it, and then you can do Kylo Ren, and you can do Darth Maul, which is the first 3 Star Wars, which I'm not a big fan of, but it's still cool to have 3 different pictures you can do. I enjoy it. Ocean enjoys it. My wife's fingernails do not enjoy it. And I think Night and Island are more into just building stuff. So let's go ahead and do the question, Darth Vader. Fight, I am your father. And that question is, x plus y equals 5, and 2x subtract 3y equals negative 5. The question is going to be solved by substitution. You know the steps. Go ahead and pause it, and unpause it when you're done. Pause it. Luke. Okay, before we do this question, and before I forget, let's do this travel for the world of JO travel card. This was on our trip to Bahamas. So we flew into Miami first. Fort, no, for the Fort Lauderdale, it was close to Fort Lauderdale. We ran into some Greyhound racing and just we do anything we think that's fun and different. We just do it, say we do it for life experience. And then we went and took a ferry to the Bahamas and spent, I think, 2 nights there. In fact, we got our conch there that we used at her wedding to give Cindy her ring in. Yeah, the ring was in Bermuda sand on with this conch. Anyways, what to do in Bahamas? We had to decide whether to scuba dive with dolphins or scuba dive with sharks. And of course, we chose the sharks because scuba dive, and this is a question for you, would you rather scuba dive with dolphins for $200 or scuba dive with sharks for $100 each? So that was $400 for the dolphins. We went sharks. And the story that followed is pretty funny, and I actually have a picture. Too bad I couldn't show it to you. But anyways, it's been about 3 years since I scuba dove last, and I hope someone says, "Don't worry, Jo, I did the same thing." For some reason, this sounds so stupid. I decided to put my foot in the armhole, and I just got all mixed up. And even though I wanted to get out first, which I did on the other shark diving I did, I messed it all up, and by the time I got my wetsuit on, I was the last person to enter the water. So we all went down a rope, and like I said, I had some technical difficulties being my brain, and finally got my wetsuit on and went down the rope. And then by the time you go down the rope, all of a sudden there is no more rope. So I looked to see where I need to go. I do not see anybody. There is no one there. Yeah, no, it's not. You're thinking, so what's the big deal with that? Well, I said I didn't see anybody. I did see some things. I probably saw about 8 sharks swimming around me. And sorry, at this point, I think I can't. No, yeah, I think I was still on the rope, so I'm not going to make it too tense for you. But then I thought, what is going on? And instead of panicking, I actually just enjoy them. I just love staring at them. I love big fish. I knew they weren't going to have a tour where the sharks eat the people. That's not really a good way to have a tour and make money, so I wasn't scared. Finally, as I'm still on the rope, I'm staring at these sharks and just loving it. Finally, someone either waved me along or touched my foot, or probably won't touch my foot. I would have probably been scared at that point. But I saw someone. They said, "Come here, come here." So we went there, and it was so cool. The leader fed the sharks, and we were able to pet them. But not just pet them, you could actually put your hands on their magnetic, somehow they had some magnetic force, and when you put your hand there for a long enough time, you paralyze them. And then you could just throw them around like a football or dribble around your legs, but they just froze and were paralyzed for, probably over 10 seconds. So the instructor did this first, and then one person got to do it. And anyways, it was pretty neat. And I'm sure there's video of that if you want to see it. But we didn't hand feed the sharks, but he did. And I guess if you did 5 dives in a row, then you were able to hand feed the sharks. So, but it was all neat. I love big fish, so that was right up my alley. Good job for my wife. She doesn't like water much, although she's certified scuba diving, has gone in the Great Barrier Reef, and she did that with me, and she wouldn't go in South Africa with me or Bali, but credit to her, she doesn't like water, and she still got certified scuba diving, and has had some great experiences. So that's another lesson. If you're a little scared of something, it doesn't mean you can't do it, and you don't have to do it all the time. But she's had some wonderful experiences scuba diving. And yes, I put my wife in harm's way because I wanted to save $100. What a guy. All right, let's do Darth Vader question, and then we're done. Good for us. We're done. You'll have some homework, so hopefully you have some extra time after we do this. But here, it doesn't matter if you solve for x or y. Last time we solved for x, so this time let's solve for y. We get y equals negative x plus 5. That's what we're going to put into this equation wherever we see a y. Okay, so the second step is purple stays the same. 2x subtract 3 times y equals negative 5. But instead of putting 3 times y, I'm going to put 3 times negative x plus 5. Next step is to distribute. Negative 3 times negative x is plus 3x. Negative 3 times 5 is negative 15. See how you did with your signs. And then I'm going to collect like terms. 2x plus 3x equals 5x. Sorry for the weird 5. And then it's an add or subtract first question. Okay, you guys, we've done enough of these now that you should know what to do next step, next step. Doesn't have to be perfect, but it certainly should be getting better. Divide by 5, don't put x equals 5, that's a common mistake. If you did put x equals 5, your check won't work out. X equals 2. And then you sub x equals 2 into the other equation. Sorry, in either equation. Which one? Purple. It's very easy, this one. So I'm going to choose this one. So wherever I see an x, I put a 2. And then I solve for y by subtracting 2 on both sides. What does that leave? That leaves y equals 3. Therefore, 2, 3 is the solution. You know what? You don't have to put this anymore. If you just put the 0.23, that's going to be good enough for me. Now, you know what that means by now, so you don't have to write it down all the time. So 2, 3 is the solution. That's the intersection point of these two lines. Let's just see if it works. 2 plus 3 certainly does equal 5. Does 4 subtract 9 equal negative 5? Yes, it does. Well, that's all, folks. Just want you to go to your homework on page 7, because it doesn't say homework. I think I added an extra. Yeah, it's right here. Okay, so go to page 7, and I want you to cross out this do. And your homework is A, B, and this should say solve the systems by substitution. And then the next page is right here. You have 5 and 7. Okay, so you have 4 questions for homework. This one, careful with. We've talked about this already. So if your answer is 7, 11 as a solution, then x plus y would equal, you just add them up, 7 plus 11. Okay, so remember this question is not asking you for the ordered pair, it's asking you to add the x part and the y part, and what do you get? This one also has caused some questions. Just take a look at it now. And what this is saying is that this equals 0, and this equals 0. Okay, so for some reason they just put it all equal to 0, just to confuse you. But you can put this equal to 0 and this equal to 0, and then it's the same thing as the question we just talked about. If your answer is sum 11, s plus t would be 18. Okay, so 4 homework questions. If you don't have time to do it before at the end of class, well, then you're doing it for homework, because those are homework questions. And we did substitution. We'll correct those ones tomorrow and then have the assignment on Wednesday. God bless. Have an awesome day. Ha ha ha.